get to now. It's the Milan derby in the Champions League semi-final, and this is going to be a huge game here in the San Siro. We'll take a look at the betting that we have on matchbook.com. You can currently back AC Milan at 3.35 in the 90-minute market. Inter Milan are 2.54. The draw is 3.2. Both teams to score yes is available at 1.86 with no around the same price. The Asian handicap line sees Milan get a quarter goal head start at 1.86, and the total for this game is 2.5. So Miguel set this up for us. Serie A this year, I'm very interested in the subplots to this game, given that they're both going for fourth place in Serie A. They're both in the Champions League semi-final. You could end up with one of these clubs not having Champions League football next season.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And it feels like the stakes are all the greater. Also because, I mean, as we've just been discussing, I mean, Madrid almost always in the Champions League semi-final. Madrid City is a tie that's now been played 3 times in 4 years. Whereas there's no guarantee, even allowing for the relative resurgence of Serie A, I would say. I wouldn't go overly strong with that, even though this is a Milan derby in a semi-final. There's no guarantees either of these will be back. It's such a kind of a historic opportunity, which is rare given that these two clubs have 10 Champions League between them. But that's the nature of the modern game. I do think, even though it's a Champions League semi-final, they've benefited from the draw in that pretty much all of the strongest sides in order, you would say, bar Napoli, who Milan obviously eliminated with a rare spike from Milan in their recent form. They were all on the other side. But it does, just from like in researching ahead of this game and speaking to a few people, and I suppose this also comes from the fact it's a derby. Remember, like the ultimate example of this was when I went to the Super Classico, the game that never happened in Buenos Aires in 2018, in which, and obviously the Milan derby doesn't go to those extremes, but the sense we're getting is similar in that it's a game governed by fear of losing to the opposition you don't want to lose to, rather than kind of the great hope of getting to a Champions League final. And I think all of that is going to feed into something that's going to be the complete opposite of the match at the Bernabeu, which is an extremely cagey match. Now, I know Milan have obviously, over the longer term, they've been changing approach. They are capable of playing a pressing game, but a lot of their success in the Champions League, and certainly those results against Napoli, have been built in a more cautious style. Obviously, Simone Inzaghi is more pragmatist as well. And I think because of all that, this is going to be a game that will maybe be engaging rather than entertaining, kind of one that's defined by the tension. And I'm going for under 1.5, which is 3.05, which feels very low. But it's going to be tight. And I think a 0-0 is a good bet as well.
Okay, yeah, this is set up for an unders mark. I see you smiling in agreement there when Miguel was chatting.
Yeah, very much agree that the fear of losing might overbear both of these two teams. It's an enormous occasion, expecting a really good atmosphere at the San Siro. I know home advantage is a little bit blurred in these kind of environments, but there will be the majority of Milan fans there instead of Inter. But I think Inter are the strongest suit of the two teams, especially if Rafael Leao does miss out through injury. He got a thigh injury at the weekend. He's rated doubtful. He's training alone. On Monday, we'll have to wait and see, Tuesday and Wednesday, whether he is fit enough to be available. But that's a huge blow for Milan if he does miss out. In terms of them defensively, they've been pretty strong, pretty rigid throughout the knockout stage. And actually, the last 6 Champions League matches, they've only conceded the 1 goal. And their sort of upturn in form was kind of coincided with Mike Maignan, the goalkeeper, coming back to full fitness. And he is absolutely incredible. He will be one of the best goalkeepers in the world if he's not already. The only goal they conceded in that six-game sequence came in the 93rd minute against Napoli. But actually, if you dig a little bit deeper, they've given up 6.8 expected goals in those 6 games. So that's how sort of knockout football can work in your favour. Those kind of intricacies a bit of variance goes in your favour, and you're in the semi-finals of the Champions League. But in terms of Inter, I wasn't massively impressed by them against Porto, but I thought they managed to tie really well against Benfica. Obviously had a tougher schedule with Bayern and Barcelona in their group, but they've kept 3 clean sheets and 4 knockout ties as well. Andre Onana between the sticks has been brilliant. So defensively, I think both teams are well capable of kind of keeping the other out or keeping things pretty locked down. But I would give the edge to Inter. They've beaten Milan in the last 2 without conceding. They've turned over Napoli in Serie A, like Milan have. They also ousted Juventus in the Coppa Italia and managed that tie really well over 2 legs. And obviously, the tie against Benfica was quite impressive too. So, to me, they're a big game team, Inter Milan. The issue is, do I really want to back them, draw no bet, or +0 on the Asian handicap around sort of below 1.8? Not particularly. So I thought the better angle was to take under 2.25 goals. That's a bigger price. It's about 1.9, and therefore you get the 0-0, the 1-1, or the 1-0 or 2-0 either way on your team, rather than just sort of backing and relying on Inter to have to win the game. So I think that's a better route than sort of finding anything Inter-based or anything Milan-based either. But yeah, I just think I agree with Miguel entirely. That magnitude of the match, the rivalry, being a first leg knockout tie, the standard of goalkeeping, and also I think Italian football, I'm not going to call it Catenaccio at all, but it has sort of taken a sort of a step back compared to the previous 2 seasons in terms of goal production this season. And these 2 teams have kind of followed suit as well. So 6 of Inter's last 9 in Serie A against the top 6 have gone under, as did both Coppa Italia semis against Juventus, and 11 of Milan's last 14 in the league have gone under. I still remember the Spurs tie, which was incredibly dull over 2 legs, especially the second leg when Spurs had to sort of go at it, and they kept Napoli at bay for the most part in the quarterfinal too. So yeah, I'm happy to sort of go against goals here for all the same reasons Miguel's mentioned too.
Okay, yeah, we got 2 unders angles in Milan versus